journey, where it took you around the world and brought you back, because we're going to end up with what's happening in this day and age in this beautiful country we call home. So take us a quick synopsis of where you came from and where you ended up.
I ended up studying social work. And through, I guess, different things that happened in my life, I went to Los Angeles. And in order to make a little bit of money there, even though I couldn't work there legally, I did a few modeling jobs. So that sustained me over there. And then as sort of visas, that needed to be renewed, I think I renewed it 3 times. And then I think with the 4th time, I was like, okay, I need to leave Los Angeles, come away from there for a little bit, and then figure out whether I was going to go back. So when I came here, it was as if something just got hold of me and I couldn't leave. I really didn't want to leave. So yeah, and so then trying to figure out how to take my old career as a social worker, working here, that needed me to register and get all that sort of paperwork done. And in the meantime, I modeled and was with the model company at the time.
What was it like for you growing up, and what was the change when things changed?
Well, I grew up in a place called Riverlea, a place for so-called colored people. When you are in a place, it's what you know, and you know that there's something fundamentally wrong with the society that places people according to different colors in different places. But it was something that my parents lived with, that we, I guess, as a country lived with for a long time. And I think that was probably the biggest part in what made my mom and dad decide that they wanted to go and live somewhere else. They were not the type of people who were going to, actively march and protest. I think their feeling was that we'd rather leave, give you children a better opportunity somewhere else, and that's what they did.
What inspired you to get into fashion?
Well, fashion was always part of who I was, part of my DNA, so to speak. I had fashionable parents, my father in particular. But I think it's a deeper question than perhaps what you intimate. I think fashion is something that sits deep within a lot of people, because it's a lot of how expression is brought forth. So it's if you think back to when people were really thought of as lesser than, and in a way people use their outward appearance to show that they were not lesser than. That's why I always say that fashion is not something that's frivolous. It's something that's very it's something very thought of, something very intellectual. And so what inspires me is a lot of my politics, a lot of what goes on in the world, a lot of my feelings about where women are, where age sits, where color sits, etc. So yeah, your question's not shallow at all.
You launched your range Sisi with a good friend. Talk to us about that, because a lot of the products were like clean colors. What is the inspiration behind the range and the shirts?
So Sisi, the collection was launched with my very best friend Cynthia Ali, and it was really done on the basis of, well, first of all, for me, in that I had been at home for a very long time with my children, and they had now grown up, and it really was a way for me to get out of the fact that I hadn't been doing anything, and that I now wanted to find my place in my life and what I wanted to do. And in the back of my head, that was always something to do with fashion. Once I decided that social work was not where I was going to end up, something that I could do as a business, without having to get up early in the morning, do a 9-to-5 sort of job. And so that's what we did. And Cynthia was the perfect person to do that business with, because she is a designer. We always spoke about doing something together, but it was just never the right time. And white shirts, really, because it started off with both of us having a love of shirts, but Cynthia in particular. She is what I call the queen of white shirts. And it was something that I thought, well, it's a little niche that we could find instead of coming, around and doing a new collection every year that you have to think about, oh my God, colors and shapes and whatever else. That this was a way for us to do the things we loved, but that didn't take, it didn't take a lot of doing. And so our vision is to always have the white shirt as a base because it's something that's very central to a person's wardrobe, and just adding the things like black or whatever neutral other color that we will decide, that we will decide on adding to the shirt. So we've got a nice brand going on that's been going for the last 4 and a bit years.
I want to talk a bit about the show that you were involved in as a judge. You worked with some young talent, and you got to reach out to the masses, which was amazing. Talk to us a bit about that.
Well, it was a show called Raw Silk on SABC1, and it was a fashion competition. So anybody could apply. They sent their portfolios in. People were chosen to go on the show, and it was really a show that I guess there are people who they go to places like Lysol schools and they go through a 4-year program or whatever, and they they do what they do. The show was open to self-taught people who went to college, people who were who were at home and doing things that nobody knew that they were doing. So across the board, and it was a good showcase for some fabulous South African talent. And I was extremely glad to be involved with that. I was one of the judges, and it was 2 seasons, and I hope that somewhere along the line it gets a 3rd season. There are a lot of young designers that a lot of people haven't heard of that I love. The more established ones, of course, like Tebe Magugu, who has been making huge strides globally. He's always been somebody that I've, loved from the time he started his first collection. I love Chu from Chulop in Cape Town, who is an absolute master of putting prints and, seemingly prints that wouldn't go together. He puts them together and things work. I love his shapes. I love his clothes. I love his energy. I love a young designer called, her label is Mashoto, and she does incredible work. Yeah, there's a lot. Elias from our last season of Raw Silk, his label is called Note, and he's incredible. Floyd Avenue, my goodness, they're too numerous to mention because South Africa has a huge drought of incredible talent.
How much has our background, the political aspects and everything affected the fashion from our own people, our own designers? Like, how much has it affected?
Look, I think in every place, the context where you're in, it influences what you are going to do, whether you're an artist, whether you're a fashion designer, whatever it is. So no doubt, the context within which we live and in which different designers live influences the work that they do. You just have to look at Tebe's work, Richard Nisi's work, for instance, to see how their personal circumstances have influenced what they're bringing out now. And you can go to their Instagrams and read about it and see that that is exactly what happens. It happens across the art. It happens in music, art, fashion. You cannot disconnect the two. They are always interconnected.
We've got some hectic stuff happening worldwide. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about? Because we can't dodge the white elephant in the room. Rest in peace, of course, to George Floyd and to everyone else that has passed away via brutality or racism. What are your thoughts about this, and how do we get to a space of equality or understanding? Because there are good peoples in every races. So how do we get justice and equality and fairness to everyone?
That is a huge question, Kaz. Systems have been built on inequality for centuries. And you have to look at South Africa, you just have to look at the whole world, really. And when you say the white elephant in the room, it's whiteness that everything has been really built on the supremacy of whiteness. So to dismantle that is obviously going to take time, because nobody's going to give that up very easily. But from what I can see and what I can feel, that this really is something, the issue and the incident that has happened in regards to George Floyd, it's almost like that straw that broke the camel's back. People are tired everywhere, whether it's in the media, whether it's in corporates, whether it's in households, friends. Everybody's having those conversations, uncomfortable conversations, some. And yes, you can say there's good and bad, but we all know that. We don't have to state the obvious. The systemic nature of the inequality needs to be dismantled. And that's going to take a lot of doing, but it's going to take doing from the people who are in power, and they need to be having those conversations. We don't have that power. So, everybody that thinks it's going to happen, like poof, everything because somebody's protested, it's going to happen, it's not going to happen. The momentum needs to be kept up, because within the building blocks of what has kept up this unequal system, the system that has kept so many people in poverty, so many people with, with such huge economic means of attaining, ways to look after themselves. We have such huge inequalities here. That's going to take a lot of dismantling, and that needs to be done. It needs to be done all over the world, because I think people are tired. We may all be one on a very intellectual level, but we're not all one, because everybody sits in such different circumstances that we're not all one. Yes, we're humans, but I don't think we must trivial, or minimalize the fact that there are people who have a hell of a lot and people who don't have. People who are able to go through the world without ever having to be questioned because of a skin color. So we're not all one. Maybe we like to think we're all one, but I think we need to look beyond, the fact that everybody says, "Oh no, we're all a human race." Well, yeah, when you write it down in a book, it sounds nice, but when you live it, on an everyday thing, I think people will challenge you on that.
There's it's proven by research and everything that 1% of the world's population owns 99% of everything. But we have a few that own everything and the masses that own nothing. Like, how do we get to a place of balance? Because it's not going to be easy for someone to have a loaf of bread.
Capitalism will always have a situation where a few have a lot because they've used the majority of people to bolster where they are. And that is dismantling systems. And that is, like I say, that's where the hard work is.
Yeah.
Artists have always used their platforms. They often are the voice of people who are not able to speak, through art, making commentary on what's going on in society, challenging people to think about what's going on in society, challenging people to talk about what's going on. So they've always been there. They've always taken what has been going on in the world as a means to foster conversation. So I don't think that's ever going to change. It's not going to change with what's going on right now politically, what's going on right now with us in regards to COVID, etc. The inequalities around that. So they'll always be there, whether through music, whether through art, through dance, and in people, and in people who use fashion to show that. So collections will come out that will show, right now. And I can't wait to see what's going to happen with what comes out now through all those mediums.
So basically, we're telling the artists to keep on doing what they're doing.
They have to. They've always done it. They've always done it through the years. It's what people who are creative do. They find a way to have those conversations through the mediums that they employ.
You're an inspiration to a lot of people out there. I'm your trainer, your friends, but you also motivate a lot of people as far as fitness, health, and wellness. Tell people quickly about your fitness lifestyle, your training, your eating habits, because a lot of people are watching out there. Tell us about your regime.
Well, as you know, and I think a lot of people who follow me know that health and fitness is a big part of who I am, because it's part of sort of my inner journey. It's been for many years, starting from just ordinary walking, out in the street, running, but then finding a space that I felt comfortable with in terms of training. Um, with a trainer, and then it's literally as I breathe is I exercise, whether it's formally doing something with you or whether it's going for a walk with my friend, but I have to be moving every single day. um, I'm not saying that I'm perfect, and in terms of my eating, I'd say 90 something percent I eat very healthy and I eat very well, but we all have our moments when we want to have something sweet, a chocolate or whatever. For me, it's finding the balance, and it's taken me years to find a balance in my life, because that's affected um, me not obsessing about things. I used to obsess about, oh my God, I have to do this type of exercise every day. I have to eat this every single day. And once I stopped obsessing about that and just found it in terms of having something that came just very naturally to me, everything just fell into place. So now it's not an obsession, but just an everyday lifestyle that if I don't do, I feel a little bit odd if I'm not going to exercise. Like today, I haven't done anything yet, but this afternoon, I'm going to go out on a long walk. So there's a point in my day that I'm going to do something that keeps my body moving, and that in turn keeps the head in tip-top shape.
I always say to you, I get jealous when you're going to go for an extra walk. I'm like, damn, I'm jealous of your cardio. But in closing, yes,
Yeah.
what are the plans for the future for you as far as your creative endeavors and everything else? And then final words to our viewers out there.
Well, I mean, I just really want to grow the brand with Cynthia. It's a really good brand. It's a brand that I think really surprised both of us in terms of how well it took off. So that's part of what we want to do. We are going to be involved in one or two projects that I can't talk about right now, but it's going to happen in the next one in the next few months. Well, given the lockdown situation, it could happen, and then one in a couple of years. So they're long-term and short-term goals for us. We just want to carry on growing our brand, and just in terms of what, like parting words of wisdom, so to speak, as I've lived on this earth for a lot longer than some of you. I've got a little bit of wisdom. Really, it is to take life um, one day at a time. I mean, I know we like to plan way in advance, and we like to, to set. It's good to set the goals. It's good to do the planning, but to know that life changes so quickly that sometimes we just have to take the opportunities as they come. We have to be ready for the spontaneity that comes with that change, because sometimes people are thrown by a change that happens so quickly that they don't know what to do. It's almost like they're caught on the back foot. And I've realized with my personality and how I am is that I'm never caught on the back foot. I just do that little stumble and carry on, because it's what we have to do as human beings. You find a way to, if that block is there as a for you to stumble over, move around it, and find the thing that you can that makes you happy. Sometimes you're not always going to succeed, but all those little failures and little humps in the road, it's what makes you stronger. And I think that's what's happened with me. It's what happens with a lot of people around me. And I think that's really good advice. And not to regret. I don't think you must ever regret anything that you've ever done, because all those things has added up to who you are today. And whatever it is that you're going to come across later on, it's going to be the things that make you stronger.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Yasmin Furmie. I will see you on the workout, and thank you for your
You
words of
will.
wisdom, your inspiration. we're in a place right now where it's important to give people their flowers while they're still alive. Upfront with Kaz is going to keep on researching and interviewing great minds to share inspiration to everyone. Thank you so much.
And everybody should go to you as a trainer. That's my last parting word. You're the best trainer around.
Follow Fit.sa for the training. Follow One Up with Upfront with Kaz for everything else. Thank you, Yasmin. Get Sisi now. Order right now. You can DM Yasmin on a page. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend.
Ciao.
Ciao, Yas.